Welcome into Four Down Territory. I am Kyle Madson, the managing editor of Niners Wire, part of the USA Today Sports Media Group. Joining me, as always, is Doug Farrar, the managing editor of Touchdown Wire. And Doug, it was so nice to wake up on a Sunday.
Yes.
And head downstairs, made a little coffee run. I got home just in time for a 10 a.m. kick, and I spent the entire day watching football. Real football, actual football.
Beautiful thing.
Life is good, man.
Exciting college football on Saturday, exciting NFL football, well, exciting for some on Sunday. And yeah, we are taping this about an hour or two before Monday Night Football, where there's apparently some kind of monsoon at MetLife. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah,
oh boy,
we're ready to roll.
Hopefully everybody stays safe. Let's turn our attention to Sunday. And now that we have nearly an entire slate of week one games in the books, which player performance was the most distressing for you in week one?
I'm going to go with 5. The artist formerly known as the Giants offensive line. Now, before I get into that, I want to throw all the roses in the direction of Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn, because Quinn has his stunt-heavy multi-alignment fronts doing all kinds of diabolical, crazy stuff, as has been his want all along since he was in Seattle. So this isn't all on Big Blue's offensive line, but man, this was ugly in a 40-0 Giants loss. Daniel Jones had 42 dropbacks. He was pressured on 28 of them, completing 8 of 16 passes under pressure for 58 yards, no touchdowns, obviously, 1 interception, and a passer rating of 32.8. That all per Pro Football Focus. Not great, Bob. Right guard Mark Glowinski was a main offender, allowing 3 sacks and 9 total pressures. Looking, he was back in Seattle on the Tom Cable plan. Right tackle Evan Neal, who was selected with the 7th overall pick last year, and about whom there is a lot of concern pass blocking wise, gave up just 1 sack, but nearly matched Glowinski with 8 total pressures. Rookie center John Michael Schmitz Jr. allowed 1 sack and 3 total pressures, and he had to deal with Micah Parsons as an inside rusher, which does not work well for anybody except Micah Parsons. That was
what a nightmare.
Parsons was getting double and triple team, which allowed other people to just come in unobstructed, and it was crazy. I don't think the line will always look this bad because the Cowboys have a rare ability to mess up a front 5, but I can't imagine this goes any worse for Brian Daboll than it did. And a team that was expected to make a lot of noise this season really looked like that was not what they expected on either side of the ball, but especially on offense.
It was genuinely one of the worst games I've ever watched, from like a single team performance. I was stunned. Let's put a pin in the Giants. I want to talk about them a little bit more later on. Doug, I'm a little worried about Lamar Jackson. I was expecting, and here's why. I know it's week one. I don't want to super overreact, but I was really expecting this Ravens offense to hit the ground running. And credit to D'Amico Ryans and that Texans defense. I think they did a pretty nice job and had a good plan. And this is Lamar's first game under new offensive coordinator Todd Monken. But he went 17 of 22, no touchdowns. He had an interception. Pro Football Focus had him down for 3 turnover-worthy plays. His ADOT was only 5.1. He ran it only 6 times for 38 yards. It just didn't look anything like I was expecting it to look. And I'm wondering if that's just kind of new offense wrinkles they're trying to iron out, or if this is indicative of what Lamar is going to kind of look like in this offense. It wasn't a matter of, oh, there were a couple of bad plays in there. It was just, I think maybe my expectations were too high, but I was really, really unimpressed with how the QB looked for the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very different offense under Todd Monken than it was under Greg Roman. You're obviously familiar with Greg from his time in San Francisco. That was not a horizontally expansive offense. Not a lot of different route combinations.
Right.
I thought he got a bit of a bad rap in Baltimore, but they're asking him to do a lot of different things with a lot of different people. You know, Odell Beckham Jr. new, Zay Flowers, who looks amazing, by the way, new.
Brilliant.
They're dealing with a lot of different stuff. I get it. I'm not worried about Lamar long term. I think it'll eventually click, but yeah, week one, it was a little weird.
On the other hand, which player maybe cleared your expectations, went beyond what you thought they might look like?
I will say Tua Tagovailoa. We've talked about the plan. Wow. We've talked about the plan the Chargers had for the Dolphins in week 14 of the 2022 season. Press their speed receivers and dare Tua to throw over the middle. and deep to the boundaries. And he had one of his worst NFL games as a result last year. In the week one rematch, the Chargers did a lot of the same things. I think they played even more man coverage. I haven't watched the whole tape, but a lot of it. And they just, I mean, they doubled down on that theory, which most people wouldn't do, because if you press Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, your guys better be good. And Tua completed 28 of 45 for 466 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and the deep passing, he completed 5 of 8 passes of 20 or more air yards for 161 and 1 of his touchdowns. And Mike McDaniel, the head coach and offensive shot caller, put some important tweaks in the offense. But this was Tua's game. I mean, he made some ridiculous on-target throws against contested coverages. And for those among you who are part of the two and on society, this could not have gone much better. A highly impressive performance against a defense that ate his lunch less than a year ago. And that's really what stood out to me. They didn't change a lot. The Dolphins tweaked things. But this was really on Tua to prove, okay, I've had an off season. I've done my jiu-jitsu to learn how to land and all that. And he looked like a completely different quarterback. I was tremendously impressed with that.
He was so good. It felt like every time I looked up, they were sitting in 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 12 or 3rd and 15. And every single time he had an answer.
Yep.
There were so many ways the wheels could have come off in that game. And he just continued with haymaker after haymaker. It was really, really impressive. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. I mean, they have the Dolphins have other things. I mean, the Chargers ran for like 900 yards. So they have other things to clean up. But as far as Tua and, that whole thing, when you can get rid of the ball in less than 2 seconds, and your guy's already 30 yards downfield, that's very hard to defend. So
yeah. When Tyreek Hill is getting 15 yards down the field as quick as most receivers get, 8 yards down the field, that's a huge adjustment for a defense. And I love Mike McDaniel's plan of having super fast receivers and just letting them be fast.
Yeah.
And then letting your accurate quarterback connect with them. I want to talk real quick about the Rams.
Yeah.
And specifically with a nod to Puka Nacua and his 10 receptions for 119 yards and Tutu Atwell and his 6 for 119, Matthew Stafford was really freaking impressive yesterday.
Surgical.
I was on the train of his career was done. The Rams are going to struggle because Matthew Stafford is just on his way out the door. But if you had told me that the Rams ran it 40 times for 92 yards, they had 40 rushes and did not get to 100 yards rushing. It didn't matter, though. Matthew Stafford, 24 of 38, 334 yards. He didn't have a touchdown, but the Rams did rush for 3. But if Stafford is 25% worse, the Rams might lose that game. They were so one-dimensional in terms of their effectiveness on the ground. It was a lot of 3rd and longs, and Stafford was just outstanding. So I like I said, I was ready to write him off, and he bounced back in a big way in week 1. Whether it's sustainable or not, I don't know. You can't really live in 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, but it worked in week 1, and the Rams offense as a whole eclipsed what I was anticipating.
Without Cooper Kupp, by the way. And last year when Stafford didn't have Kupp, he was getting his brains beaten in because none of his other receivers could separate, and he had to hold the ball too long. That's not a problem now. Nacua, I love coming out. I think Atwell's taken a step, and it's Geno Smith mentioned after the game that the Rams seemed to want it more than the Seahawks. That's kind of what the tape showed. That's not something you ever want to hear from your quarterback, but the Rams are not tanking. They're not good, but they're feisty, and that's that's not bad.
Yeah, as long as teams are going to be bad, but as long as they're not boring, then you're in an okay spot moving forward. Let's zoom out and look at a team maybe. So based on what happened in week 1, is there a club that you thought had postseason potential that maybe you're ready to punt on?
I'm not ready to punt on the Seahawks, Kyle, but they have me concerned. You just talked about how the Rams were able to nuke their defensive Stafford. Again, no Cooper Kupp and a bunch of receivers, and a casual fan wouldn't even know. Puka Nacua, what's that? Yeah. The pass defense was, shall we say, subpar. No sacks, 2 quarterback hits, and a handful of quarterback hurries against an offensive line that was supposed to be similarly unimpressive. And the offense with a healthy Jackson Smith-Njigba and Geno Smith as the franchise quarterback now was truly awful in the second half. And that happened after both offensive tackles, Charles Cross and Abe Lucas, got hurt. Reports indicate they're bringing in Jason Peters to maybe play left tackle or, come up like he did with the Cowboys last year. And, Smith saying the Rams wanted it more. Other players saying the Rams wanted it more. Pete Carroll's got a lot of work to do. The Seahawks have the talent to get over this, but they now have to go to Detroit and deal with the Lions next Sunday. Good luck. And that could be all kinds of awful for them, especially, if Lucas on the right side is not healthy. Cross, I guess, a turf toe thing. We don't know how that looks. One thing's for sure, they better stop thinking that they're on scholarship against inferior teams, because this is the NFL. You can get your clap cleaned any week, and the Lions aren't inferior at all. In fact, they might be the better team.
Yeah, more on the Lions in just a second here. I want to go back to the Giants, and I was going to put the Steelers here, and the Steelers would have been my answer for team I thought had playoff potential that I'm now soured on a little bit, because they did not look good in week 1 against San Francisco. That was until the Giants played. And you mentioned
49ers. They're playing the 49ers defense. You have to kind of.
Yeah, no doubt. I thought, just to stick on the Steelers for a second, I thought Kenny Pickett missed some throws that he was not missing in the preseason. And I know the Niners defense is very good and has something to do with that. So the Giants, though, man, it's not so much. So everything you laid out earlier fits here. You could just copy paste the answer. But it was the fact that after Saquon's fumble 6 thing that happened in the first quarter that made it 16-0, it felt like they quit in a division game at home in week 1. And then you just start to look at it, and the Cowboys are super talented, and based on Sunday might be the favorite in the NFC right now. So I don't want to necessarily say the Giants need to be at that level, because the Cowboys on both sides are pretty loaded. But you start to look out, and it's Saquon, okay. And then on the other side, it's Dexter Lawrence.
Pretty much it.
And then that's it for guys who are go-to playmakers on a team that you could see winning the Super Bowl. Like, I'm not a believer in Daniel Jones. I still got to see it with Jalen Hyatt. They're starting 2 rookie corners. I thought the Giants might have been a year early last year and then maybe taken a little bit of a step forward. Now it seems like they're going to kind of take a step back, and it's really, really glaring just how talent deficient they are. And which, honestly, credit to Brian Dable for doing as good of a job as he did last year. But that lack of talent's going to catch up eventually, and I feel like it has with the Giants.
Yeah, he overcoached. He won Coach of the Year. I voted for him for Coach of the Year. That's why.
The right choice.
Yeah, the defense, with Wink Martindale and his blitzes and his looks, Dexter Lawrence had 4 total pressures. Jihad Ward had 1 total pressure. That's it.
Jihad Ward is still in the league, man.
Leonard Williams, 0. Kayvon Thibodeau, 0. Boogie Basham, who they just got from Buffalo, 0. No sacks. Total of 5 quarterback pressures in the entire game.
Brutal.
Not
Brutal.
Good.
Yeah,
and,
both sides. Both sides.
Dallas' offense was kind of weird. That was not up to, and at some point, Mike McCarthy is going to, bleep the bed with some sort of situational mistake, because that's what he does. That offense, I'm not completely sold on, but the extent to which the Giants couldn't stop what Dallas is doing on offense is equally, or maybe even more, distressing.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think I'm out on the Giants until further notice. Let's wrap it up with 4th down here. Is there a team that on the opposite side of that coin, is there a team maybe that you didn't think would be ready for prime time coming into the year that looks like after week 1 they might be?
I wasn't all in on the Lions hype, because Jared Goff is Jared Goff, and sure. I didn't know with all the new defensive backs, like, would that work? That was another team that kind of got overcoached, and credit to Dan Campbell and his staff for doing that. But not only did they beat the Chiefs in the Chiefs' house last Thursday night to open the season, there wasn't a thing about it that looked like a fluke. They were there and they were ready, and they're ready to compete with the NFL's best. Offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, who, mark my words, will be an NFL head coach somewhere else in 2024, if not sooner, through all kinds of stuff with Steve Spagnuolo's defense. His passing concepts are outstanding. And this is something to watch with the Lions. The way they beat defenses with multiple run concepts bring the 49ers and the Eagles to mind. It's that good. It's a total value pack of run stuff, and it's really fun to watch. The pass rush, led by Aiden Hutchinson, harassed Patrick Mahomes for 3 solid hours. Defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn now has the talent in the secondary to align his fronts and coverages. Rookie Brian Branch will lead the way there. How that guy lasted until the second round, I don't know. He was my 13th overall prospect. Moreover, the Lions had key contributions from all of their first 4 draft picks in 2023. Branch, running back Jahmyr Gibbs, linebacker Jack Campbell, tight end Sam Laporta. The top 4 guys in their draft against the Chiefs, the defending Super Bowl champs, in Kansas City, all balled out. Not much more you can expect than that. So, there's this like thunderous preseason Lions hype, and I'm like, yeah, they look good, but I don't know. I'm sold. I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah, I love the way that they gutted out a week 1 win. It obviously wasn't the best they're going to perform this year, but they still figured out a way to go knock off Kansas City. I'm with you. That was really, really impressive. I think Cleveland might be scary.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing they did offensively yesterday was super impressive. Deshaun Watson looked a little bit more like the Deshaun Watson we saw in Houston, but still not that level of player. But Nick Chubb is going to be there on the ground.
That interception is going to be the worst interception anyone throws all season long. It was hilarious. Were you trying to throw it to Dax Hill? Really? Did you get your uniform color confused?
Nick Chubb is gonna be the focal point of that offense. So they just need Deshaun Watson not to throw a bunch of interceptions like the one he threw on Sunday. But their defense, Zadarius Smith steps in right away, 6 pressures. Myles Garrett, 6 pressures and a sack. And I think there were extenuating circumstances that led to Joe Burrow going 14 of 31 for 82 yards. But I think Cleveland's defense is legit. And Grant Delpit in the back end had a really, really excellent game for them. I don't see a ton of flaws in Cleveland's defense, and I don't think they're going to need a ton from their offense to win a lot of games this year. So I'm buying Cleveland.
I wrote a long tape piece on that defense this morning, Monday morning. First thing I did when I woke up, it's like, okay, I want that tape and I want to see what happens. Zadarius Smith played like he was possessed.
Man.
Ungodly. And I've been team Zadarius for years. I keep like beating that drum. He's one of the most underrated multi-gap edge rushers or like a pass rushers in the NFL. But like Dalvin Tomlinson was just a force in the middle. Okoronkwo was, all over the place like Smith was, like Garrett was. I'm sure you saw the Myles Garrett's Euro step from the edge and his kind of Iverson crossover with Ted Karras to confuse Karras. I've never seen anyone do that before, but it's brilliant. And apparently it's legal. So, I'm 0, I'm 1, I'm 0, I'm 1, I'm doing this. And like, okay. And then he just beats Karras because Myles Garrett is an alien anyway. Yeah, that defense is there. I like the back. I like the linebackers. I think the secondary is a lot going on, but that front, the 5-man fronts, with all those guys at the same time. I mean, the Bengals said we didn't know how to protect it because Garrett's here, Garrett's there, Smith is here, Smith is there. They had a couple of 5-man fronts where it was Smith on one side and Garrett on the other. Good luck with that. Then they had a couple of 4-man fronts with Smith and Garrett on the same side. So either Smith or Garrett is coming after your guard. Super good luck with that. I mean, Jim Schwartz, their new DC, is in his cups, and those guys are coming for your quarterback every week.
Yeah, I'm all in on having 2 elite edge guys and just letting the rest of your defense figure it out. So I think it's going to be tough to score on Cleveland this year, and it sure looked like it on Sunday.
Well, you got Nick Bosa and Drake Jackson with his 3 sacks. How about that?
Yeah, that was, just to add to that, I think he's going to get a lot of those this year because he's a really good athlete. And Javon Hargrave and Eric Armstead were just impossible to block for Pittsburgh. So I think we might see Drake Jackson kind of come out of nowhere and rack up a bunch of sacks this year, just cleaning up the mess on the inside.
Yeah, that's, those sacks count just as much.
Yeah, they sure do. Doug, thanks so much for hanging out. Thank you everybody for watching 4 Down Territory. Make sure to tune in each and every week after on Tuesday this comes out. We'll be recapping slates of games, talking about the news. Love that football's back. Thanks so much, Doug.
Thanks, everyone.